Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this Transit Executive meeting to order. Welcome back to work after a beautiful summer. I'll do a roll call, please. Just going to work through some tech issues here. Okay. Did that come out? I don't even have it on my screen, the votes. Yep. Is it all there? Okay, we have quorum. Declarations of pecuniary interest. I think we have a couple. Chair Henry.
Thank you. On item B, my daughter and some of our registered officers in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Sorry, Chair Henry, I did not click on your mic there, so go ahead again.
On item B, my daughter and my son-in-law are both serving officers in the Canadian Armed Forces.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jubb? Oh, and do this again.
Chair, will be declaring a pecuniary interest for item 7.2 as well, as I am a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, and I too will declare indirect pecuniary interest as my son-in-law is a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. Anybody else? Okay.
Just a question. You might want to ask a member of council that doesn't have a declaration to chair that part of the meeting for you. So, Mayor, go to Mayor
If
Watt.
we need to. Okay, we'll see if we need to for that part. Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. Can I get a motion for the adoption of the minutes, please? Commissioner Watton, seconded by Commissioner McCullough. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And our presentation today is from General Manager Holmes. He scoots back over. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Sayo Baxter-Trahair, staff, and members of the public joining us here today. First of all, welcome back. Hopefully you had an enjoyable summer and you're able to spend some time with family and friends. I can share that the DR team has been very busy getting ready for the fall. And I have to tell you, and you'll kind of hear a little bit more on, I just want to share, I'm more excited now about DRT and the opportunities that lie ahead of us than any time in my career here at Durham. We've got that pending transit station charge to support the GO train extension to Bowmanville. DSBRT construction has started along Highway 2, and DRT as a local service continues to expand and grow across the region. The service now is more convenient than at any time, but we do know we have a long way to go. We're really focused on pursuing those opportunities that people can make the choice to leave their car at home. They can get from their home to their place of work, business, connect to the GO train, to DSBRT, and that's what we're all striving to move forward with. And again, greatly reduce the capacity reduce the car traffic on the road, but also to save people money. It's more affordable when you're using public transit than any other form of transportation. I want to this afternoon as well recognize and thank Mr. James Kilgore for his leadership and his contributions that he provided to DRT and staff during his time as a temporary DGM of maintenance. He brought stability to the division, he forged effective working relationships with our union partners, and he's established a solid yet vibrant foundation for the maintenance division moving forward. With that said, I'm also pleased to welcome back to DRT a familiar face to many of you, Mr. Christopher Norris. He rejoins us at DRT as the Deputy General Manager of Maintenance. And Christopher is quickly assembling his leadership team to modernize and develop an industry-leading maintenance organization. As part of that modernization effort, I'm also pleased to announce two new employees who are joining us on the maintenance team. Mr. Terry Kampkin joins us in the position as Manager of Supply Chain, and he comes to us from OPG. We also have Marcel Hudka, who joins us as in a new position that we've created as Manager of Fleet Engineering. Marcel and Terry aren't with us today. They're busy moving forward. Again, they got lots of work to do, and they're busy working through that. And together with our Manager of Fleet Maintenance, Bradley Lodge, I really can't wait to see what this team is going to produce over the next 3 to 5 years. Just a quick note, I'm hearing different things. Is everything coming through okay? The sound? Okay. I also want to welcome back today Ms. Nicole Lysett. You may remember Nicole from her time as the Manager of Policy and Planning, but she's now moved on to the position of Manager of Finance, Analytics, and Program Support within Business Services. So as you can see, we've been very busy over the summer reshaping the organization to support DRT into the future. And while we're expecting a few years of challenges and bumpy road ahead, I'm extremely excited about these opportunities that lie ahead of us. As noted in the GM report today, adult ridership through the first half of the year has remained very strong and it actually continues to increase, which is great news. However, we did notice over the first half of the year that UPass and youth ridership have dropped in 2025. UPass ridership dropped year to date by 22% compared to last year, but it was more pronounced during the summer semester through July, where it was down 45%. We do know that the enrollment projections at this point for our post-secondary institution partners is about 3% lower than last year, and we'll be closely monitoring through the fall. Again, we're doing a lot of work in our engagement team and ambassadors at promoting transit, and the more effective the network is, the more it will be used by our UPass riders. So even with some a little lower enrollment, we're really hopeful that we'll have more UPass riders through the fall and into the winter months. Youth ridership was down 9% as well through July, and again, a significant drop in May, June, and July. And while 6 months, that doesn't necessarily mean a trend, we are closely monitoring. And staff are also very diligently promoting our incentive program. So the Y10 program for the school term, as well as the summer 2-for-1 over the months of July and August. And I wanted to share with you that we recently replied to a complaint from a resident, and they were complaining about the cost of the youth fare. So we did a quick review in terms of what is that annual cost for a youth fare with DRT compared to our average GTHA part agencies across, and it's roughly 30% lower for those families who are actually leveraging the incentives that we offer through the Y10 and the 2-for-1. So again, we highly encourage families who are using DRT to take advantage of these incentive programs because it does save them money. The investment in service hours is also paying off in terms of improving our reliability, and our on-time performance has continued to improve board period over board period. So as we're putting more resources into the network, it is paying off there. The downside is that because of that, we're not able to add more additional service, but we're really just making sure that the service is operating as it's scheduled. Unfortunately, service availability continues to be impacted by some on-street challenges, including congestion and construction, and we remain below target, but we continue to work at that as well as we're moving forward. Oh, Roger, I might need your help here. There we go. On-demand ridership, it continues to be strong, increasing monthly, and year-to-date at 17% higher than it was last year. In July, we carried 28,846 customers, and that was included about 60% of those boardings were customers registered with Specialized Transit. The ridership growth that we are seeing across the on-demand network is attributed to a few factors. There's the annual service hours that are being approved through the annual budget process. It's been 11,000 hours the last 2 years. And also, we've been able to redirect capacity. So you'll see a little later on where we're replacing on-demand with scheduled service in some areas, the 619 in North Durham, some employment areas, where we're able to redirect that capacity. And that is, again, paying off with increased ridership across that part of the network. Another great news story with the on-demand network is its availability. Our vendor Viago has reached 100% availability for the past few months, which means that all on-demand service that's planned and budgeted for is on the street. And as you can see with our unaccommodated rates, even with all these increase in ridership, increasing service hours, demand still exceeds our capacity, and our unaccommodated rate is still sitting at a level that we're not comfortable with. On Tuesday, we also implemented the most recent service period, which included several enhancements. It was also the end of our seasonal service reductions, as well as service to key summer destinations such as the Toronto Zoo, the waterfront, and Rouge National Park. I won't read through all of this, but I just wanted to highlight one of the focuses of September was the enhancement of service to several key employment areas, including the 403B servicing the General Motors complex in Oshawa, the 315 in Port of Whitby, 505 in Southwest Bowmanville, and the Route 101 in South Pickering. Some of our key service indicators are related to route productivity, and that includes route level ridership per revenue service hour. And this has been a long-standing metric that we've had, and our standard for that is 7 passengers per revenue service hour. So we took a look at, just to give an indication of sort of how the year is going, with the exception of 2 routes, everything is well above that parameter, and the best 5 routes we have through August was Route 901 that has an average of 83 riders per service hour, the 101 in Pickering at 59 riders per service hour, the Route 900, 43 riders per revenue service hour, the 216, followed by the 419, both at 40 rides per revenue service hour. The 2 routes that I mentioned are our newer routes that we've implemented, the 618 and the 507. They're carrying roughly 4 riders per revenue service hour at this point, but again, they are newer routes. We do need to recognize and give it time to generate ridership, so we'll continue to monitor that over the next year to see how that goes. I also wanted to provide an update today on the Presto operating agreement. So we are at that time again. The current agreement expires November 27th of 2027. So we've already started the process and working with our partners at Presto and Metrolinx, as well as our 905 agencies, starting to move forward with the negotiation phase of that operating agreement. Our intent is, really be able to influence the fare management system. And as you likely know, to be eligible for the Ontario gas tax, we have to use the Presto system. It's a condition of receiving funding through that program. And for last year, for example, that amounted to $9.6 million from the province for that program. That said, Presto system has greatly improved the fare payment experience of customers with open payment. You can use your devices, credit card, debit card, virtual card now online, and it continues to improve. There's also the One Fare program that's incentivizing regional travel across the GTHA, which has been a great advancement as well. And now that we've got a very reliable system, which is very modern, we're able to now start turning our attention to what else could it be. Intermodal travel is very important. We see this in other jurisdictions where, you can pay whether you're taking using an e-bike or taking the bus or the train, and you can use the same sort of fare payment system. And those are areas of interest that we're looking at now, at how can we continue to expand intermobility for our customers across the region. Back in November 2024, we provided Tech with an update on the Canada Public Transit Fund, which was initially announced back in July of 2022. And once implemented, the 10-year program was planned to invest $3 billion annually as predictable federal funding for public transit so that we could deal with our infrastructure requirements and growth requirements starting in 2026. So I just wanted to give you a brief update on that because there has been some movement there. A lot has changed since the summer of 2022, and it's time for a quick update for you. So the baseline stream of the Canada Public Transit Fund, it is a $500 million a year stream through this fund, and it's intended to support routine growth and state of good repair. Back in December of last year, the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities advised us that the region would receive, over a 10-year period starting next year, $52.7 million, or about $5.2 million per year annually. So we are working through, and we're hoping that that funding agreement will be signed in due course so that that funding can start flowing in April of 2026. The largest stream, which was the Metro Region stream, and that was $2 billion a year in federal funding to support capital expansion projects. That is the largest pot of money by far in the program, and it is structured to meet sort of regional transportation requirements. And you'll see if you're hearing anything about the program in the Metro stream, it's all about inter-regional plans. And in Ontario, the Ministry of Transportation is going to be the lead applicant, and they're developing two inter-regional plans, one for the GTHA and one for Ottawa. The GTHA plan will be based on the Greater Gordon Horseshoe area and the plans that they have in place there. And at the end of the day, the MTO will be making the final recommendations to the provincial government for what projects to include in this plan. So by the end of the year, we are all the transit agencies in the GTHA are putting together our capital plans, transit capital plans submitting to the province. We're going to be sitting at a table over the fall to work through that. Again, as much as possible, advocating for the regional representation of those projects which are most important to us and that fall within the Greater Gordon Horseshoe Transportation Plan. And the province then will be making that submission at the end of the year to the federal government, which will form the basis of this inter-regional plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So we've had many consultations and meetings to better understand the stream, the program, the requirements, and staff are now diligently working through that process to get our information into the province for consideration over the fall. So as that is developing over the fall, we'll, once we know which projects are being submitted by the province for funding, we'll be able to come back and sort of let you know what that impact is to Durham, any funding requirements, because it will be it's a shared funding model between the three levels of government, but it really depends on which projects make it through to be funded to determine what the level of funding is at from the various levels. So the third stream was called the targeted stream, which was intended to be a $500 million a year program. But to this point, we haven't heard any new news on that that program. So we wait to see any details associated with that stream. I mentioned off the top that DRT staff have been very busy over the summer, and none were as busy as our engagement team and our transit ambassadors. So we've just presented here just a snapshot of their activities over the course of the summer, and that ranges from providing charters to local organizations, raising awareness of transit at events such as the Bike to Work Day, various farmers markets across the region, engaging with several seniors groups and residents where they are at, and of course the ever popular Touch a Truck event at the end of the summer. I also wanted to touch today on just a brief note. I was at the Community Growth and Economic Development Committee yesterday. And if you were either here or listening to the committee meeting, Simon Gill and the ECDEV team provided a great presentation and report on the outcomes from the Hanover MSA 2025. And this is that international technology trade fair that is held every year in Europe. So Simon and his team did an excellent job in terms of the presentation and the report yesterday. And I really encourage anyone to go to the committee page at durham.ca and access that presentation and report. It's a great read. In that, what I heard yesterday, and again, I just wanted to reaffirm that the primary objectives for Durham Region through this process was lead generation for the purpose of brand awareness and investment attraction here in Durham. And as a result of that effort, there's already 6 companies that are expressing interest, and one's actually coming for a visit this fall, which is excellent. The transit part of the story that I want to share with you is related to that need that we need to continue advancing public transit as we're looking to bring more business, more residents into this region. As you know, before we launched the 10-year service and financing strategy, there were years where Durham Region Transit had zero budget increase, and we actually had to look at reducing service, and so that was a real challenge. But in the last 2 years, or actually over the last 3 years, this committee and council have invested over 150,000 revenue service hours in DRT. And you're starting to see that now, that growth and into the business areas and into some of the growth areas across the region. And we need, we keep hearing from residents and businesses that, we're doing lots, but we still need to do a lot more. We're not there yet. So we need to continue to grow the transit network. Again, so people can conveniently access the service and they don't even have to think about their car. They can walk out of their house, catch a bus, get to where they need to go, whether it's within Durham or beyond. We have great connections now as well with our partners. We do still hear, from residents who they moved to this area and they're not happy that transit isn't where they probably expected it to be. We hear of new businesses opening up in areas where we don't have great transit, and they're expecting us to get their employees and their customers to and from their workplace, but just, there's really no demand in those areas. And it's incumbent on us as we're looking to continue to advance the region that transit continues to be at our forefront, as does the need for investment. And Chair Henry, I'm going to steal one of your lines here that, Durham is truly an amazing place to live, work, and play. Our potential here is second to none. And as a region, this increasing engagement with local, provincial, national, international companies to come and invest in this community, the growth of transit has to go along with that as well. And we need to continue that investment and that development because transit is part of the economic development needs of this region and community. And we all want to make sure that it's a vibrant and livable community for all our residents that are moving here, whether it's existing residents or new residents moving because of the great potential that we have and the new businesses that are moving here. So it was a great presentation. Again, really encourage you to look at it. It just drove home to me that need that we got to keep doing the good work. You got to keep doing the good work that you're doing to keep transit moving forward. My final note for today, and I'm not going to go through the full report, but I just wanted to mention that there is a report in today's agenda that brings back our recommendation based on a request from TEC to look at fare-free transit for the Canadian Armed Forces members. You will see that we're recommending fare-free transit for members of the Canadian Armed Forces and veterans during Remembrance Week. And this recommendation, it really is closer aligned to what the vast majority of transit agencies are doing. It's more actually, but it's not the fare free all year round that Metrolinx has implemented across their network, but more closely aligned to local transit agencies and that ability to recognize while still ensuring equity across the fare payment system. I would say as well, from the wording of the recommendation, for example, we have said veterans wearing medals, but to us, that what that will mean is having the appropriate identification, whether it's an identification card from the Canadian government or a medal or anything else that indicates that level of service. And the other part is that week, even though we've said the 5th to 11th, that is subject to change, just depending on, again, how that gets defined. Perhaps it'll better closely align with the last day of October, which is when the poppy is raised nationally. So again, even though we've specified November 5th to 11th, we do see flexibility there in adjusting that. And just so you know as well, the specific mention of medals, it will be any identification appropriate for the veterans. So when the report comes forward, I know Chris and his team did a lot of work on that, so they'd be happy to answer any questions specifically related to that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Any questions to the presentation? Must still be in summer mode. Seeing none. We have no delegations, nor do we have any correspondence. And then our first report up is regarding General Manager's Report 7.1. Moved by Commissioner Watton. Okay, thank you. Seconded, Commissioner Anderson. Welcome, Commissioner Leahy.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Vice Chair Grodd. A question has come up from different residents recently about challenges with on-demand. I know that Mr. Holmes talked about the on-demand is up and it's at 100% compliance. Are there any issues with people trying to book regularly scheduled transit services, specifically for things like to dialysis, stuff like that? I got some concerns around that from some residents saying they're having difficulty booking pre-scheduled on-demand services for those type of things. Are there any issues with the on-demand service?
Thank you, and through the chair.
No? Do you have to go? There you go.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair. On demand itself, if you recall, we have commingled customers registered with Specialized with other on-demand customers as one service. They're both demand response. From an eligibility perspective for Specialized Transit, DRT is unable to prioritize purpose of trips. At this point in time, a trip, really staff know from where they're coming and going, the addresses, the purpose of the trip, the intent of the trip, it doesn't come into consideration from a public transit perspective. So we don't prioritize trips for medical appointments and others. The other aspect I believe that you were mentioning was related to subscription trips. So
Yes,
we had paused subscription trips back in the late spring because we had some challenges. We came to Tech in May, I believe it was, to get some direction around subscription trips that will be fully implemented through this fall. So at that time, we had indicated that subscription trips were becoming an increasing number and reducing capacity for other customers, whether they're Specialized customers or other on-demand customers. So we put a pause on it. So if that may be what the customer is experiencing, that until we launch the new booking window and other, we did put a freeze on subscription trips just because we needed that direction from Tech, which we received, and we'll be moving forward in October to make those changes.
All right, so if just for clarity, so that I understand, in October, someone that needs a subscription to say regularly go get dialysis, they'll be able to do that booking in September under a new system.
In October. So if they are eligible for Specialized services and they have the service and they apply for a subscription, and a subscription we define as a minimum of one trip per week over a minimum of 3-month period. If they meet those requirements, then yes, they would be placed on the subscription trip list. And that trip then would be scheduled and booked ahead of everybody else.
All right, and then supplemental to that, there are no other plans. Once the subscription process is back up and running, we don't anticipate suspending that again in the future.
I would never say never. We'd have to see how things go. There's no intent at all. We just in the spring, because of how the dynamics of the on-demand network were changing, we felt it appropriate to take a pause, get direction from Tech in terms of the subscriptions before we sort of continued on. So, but there's no intent at this point to pause subscriptions in the future.
All right, I'll share that information, and I appreciate it. That's my only question. Thank you.
Any further questions to the report? Seeing none, we did have a mover and a seconder. All in favor of the recommendation? And that's carried. Thank you. I'll open up discussions on Report 7.2 about the considerations of free transit for the Canadian Armed Forces. Jim, do you want to speak just in any more detail about the timing and so on? Oh, sorry. A reminder, I need a mover and a seconder. By Commissioner Wadden and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask Chris to provide more details, but from a sort of an implementation process, depending on the recommendation, if it's the recommendation as presented, we, DRT, will be able to fund that through our existing budget, through a marketing budget that we have for fare incentives. And then we will, moving forward in subsequent budget years, make sure it's part of the budget process and clearly identified as part of the fare table. Chris, did you have anything that you'd like to add to that? Okay, thank you.
We did speak, I'm kind of limited on what I can say here, having declared the interest, but about the timing of it. can't.
As a reference, the last Friday of October is when the poppy flag is raised here at the region of Durham and at all our local regions. So that's just information that might help you with the direction.
So Chris, did you have something you just wanted to add to that?
Thanks very much. Through the chair, so based on the recommendation as it stands right now, it works out to be approximately $1,000 or $1,100 a day. If we increase the duration of the free fares to the first Friday, given that the Friday can obviously change, we're looking between 1 to 3 weeks. And so you're looking at a range from about 8,000 to 24,000 as a rough estimate. So that's just the additional information for tech.
Can I just follow?
Yep, please do.
So thanks, Chris, for that. And again, as I indicated in the presentation, the wording around weeks, we did put 5 to 11, but that is adjustable for us for that purpose. And again, based on sort of information we have, and I wouldn't hesitate if it was appropriate that from that, when the flag raising on until the 11th, that would be an appropriate time frame that we would then implement.
Commissioner Leahy, you're first up. However, I'm going to call on Commissioner Anderson, given that he's on tech.
Hi, thank you. I was just wondering, I see this impact roughly 9,000 people in Durham region, am I correct? And that's reservists and active members and retired personnel?
So through the chair, I'll ask Chris Hornberg to respond to that. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Through the chair, that's correct. So we have 3 different categories. That's active duty members currently, reservists who are also active duty, and as well as veterans.
So of those 9,000, how many actually, where do you get the figure, how many actually use Durham Transit? Where does that number come from?
So through the chair, we did have to do some estimates. We have for Canada through various government sources, so D&D, Department of National Defence, Statistics Canada, others. We have the amount of those 3 categories, so active members, reservists, and veterans. And then we had to do some estimates to determine the proportional representation you would expect within Durham region. And then from there, we used our data and statistics on mode share and ridership patterns that we see generally speaking from the public perspective. So it is an estimate.
Okay, so it's not accurate. It could be way less than that. And given our demographics and geography, it could be way less, correct, than other areas.
So through the chair, it's possible that it's less. It's also possible that it's more. It's just our best estimate that we can provide based on the data available.
Okay. And so you're saying it's roughly $1,100 a day it would cost us.
Through the chair, that's correct. Based on the numbers here, it's
Based on
roughly $1,100 a
the
day.
Estimates.
Correct.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Commissioner McCauley.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Would this also include specialized transit? So given that it's Remembrance Day and a lot of them will be traveling to ceremonies.
Through the chair, so yes, this would include everything.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, I'm fully supportive. We will also see the metrics and the data afterwards to know exactly what the usage is, and this is, information for next year and following up, right?
Through the chair, so yes, just one thing to note is that it may be difficult to track the data after the fact because we'd be letting folks on with their military IDs and medals being one of those items, and as that gets updated, so they're not necessarily tapping, but nonetheless we'll still be able to try to run some statistics and some analysis to find out what the usage patterns are.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Commissioner Leahy, thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, Vice Chair Grodd. So I appreciate that. So I appreciate the attempt from staff to look at this, to give us the week and all this stuff, different pieces. And I also appreciate the report stating that there's not a lot of agencies that look at this. My question is around the cost. Let's follow up with Councillor Anderson said. If we're just estimating what the impacts are and we're worried about the impact to the system, can we not run a pilot project for a month or for 3 months to actually gather that data in a more robust way to understand what the impacts are? If we're only going to be doing it for a week or two, is that really a representative sample for us to be able to make decisions or an impacts on the entire system?
I'll go to General Manager Holmes.
Through the chair. So what we are recommending, Councillor, is that fare free transit for Canadian Armed Forces and veterans is only for that specified period of when the flag is raised on the last Friday of October through to the 11th of November. That's the recommendation we're making based on what we're seeing across the our partner agencies. We're not looking at this as a pilot. Our recommendation is this is what it would be moving forward. So this isn't a pilot that we're recommending, but recommending a going forward process to recognize our veterans during that period on an annual basis.
All right, supplementary to that, what will we need to try and look at a pilot? Like, I'm sure there's more information we can collect. For example, a number of the agencies in the report said that you had to apply annually or every other year. When you did your scan of these other agencies, did you find out what the uptake was on these annual or every other year pass? Because having that process of having to apply to something will actually reduce the numbers.
Through the chair, so unfortunately, when we looked at the other comparative transit agencies, there was a lot of variability in what they accepted in terms of both, medals versus uniforms versus the types of ID that were accepted. And then in addition to that, there was also a significant amount of variability in the specific days that they offered free fares for. So it is challenging to kind of use that as, a litmus test. In terms of your question from a pilot perspective, we would run into some of the same challenges that I mentioned previously with the last question. But there are some opportunities we have to try to collect some data and then use that to inform whether or not you want to make this a permanent process going forward, if that's what Tech directs.
Okay, I appreciate the response. My question is around, did we reach out to Metrolinx? I think, or Guelph was the other one, that you had to apply every year, so you had to show some ID, had some different thing. Did they not get a sense of the percentage of their users that were a veteran that used like that? They must have that information.
And through the chair, the staff, the work that we've done in terms of fares and service equity, I think that's what's driving our recommendation is from a fare equity perspective. If we're looking at providing free transit to one group over another, that's not necessarily as equitable as looking at an income-based fare, for example, and that was sort of highlighted in the report. So we didn't go and seek data specifically from our partners about how well utilized is it. We took a look at what they were providing, the type of recognition they were providing, and then how did that fit in with DRT's fare strategy, our commitment to equity, and that's where the recommendation came from. So we didn't dig into how well is this program being utilized by on Metrolinx or at Guelph.
Okay, so the question wasn't asked. That's the information wasn't there. I understand. I guess my final question is, when are we going to get the information back to make a recommendation to expand the program or change the program? How long would we have to wait?
Through the chair, we'd probably need, certainly after November 11th, after the conclusion of running the pilot, and then we'd likely need a couple months just to see how to run the data, because we would have to make again, some estimations, and we'd have to think about how we calculate that. So we'd likely need just a couple months after the November 11th.
Okay, thank you. So I appreciate the efforts. I'm glad we're moving the needle. Obviously looking to do the whole kit and caboodle, but I thank staff for the effort. Looking forward to expanding this service for veterans this fall. Thank you.
And sorry, just to follow up on that, and I believe during the, we do have our fair report come in October, so it's a little early to sort of make that decision as part of that. But, again, during that process, consideration could be potentially given if wanting to extend it, or so we can have some more of those discussions around at the next month's meeting when we're bringing forward our fair report. You will see in there, depending on the decision of Tech today, if this recommendation passes, that will be part of the fair table that on those specific days or that period that fair would be free for veterans. So there could be more discussion next month if that's what's desired.
If I could just ask one question without prodding too far, so the changes of the dates and the form of identifications can just be implemented into your policy?
Yes, we will implement that as part of our fair marketing incentive for this year, and we'll make sure that that's documented in the fair table for the 2026 budget fair considerations.
Great news, thank you. Seeing no other questions, all in favor of the report then? Recorded vote then, please. Okay. We can't, right, there's only 1, 2, 3. Who can vote? There's 4.
Commissioner Garrett, can you hit your button, please?
And that's carried, thank you. There are no advisory committee resolutions or confidential matters. Is there any other business? And with that then, we'll look forward to the next meeting, in which Marilyn will be back, and that will be on October the 8th at 1:30. Motion to adjourn from Commissioner Watton and seconded by Commissioner McCauley. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.